Hello, I'm Carl Stabe, and today I have Ryan Hawk. He's the founder of the Learning Leader podcast and author of upcoming book, The Price of Becoming. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure. I've listened to dozens of your episodes. You have a really great style, and I think people can really learn how to build better systems. And I think your book will encompass probably, it will have a lot of these systems in there. So maybe we can touch on a few. But I'm just curious, you've spent a lot of time interviewing people, studying them. What do ambitious leaders underestimate about the price of getting better?
What do ambitious leaders underestimate about the price of getting better?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's the like least sexy things that actually make it better. It's the being reliable, dependable, and consistent, and then watch the power of compounding do what it does. But you can't interrupt that. Just like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger say, like this whole book is really about. I've studied those two guys forever, I feel like, and then try to apply. So they do it when it comes to businesses and money and the power of compounding. Try to just take those lessons and make them portable into living a life as a leader. And so how can you create habits that when you do them every day, day after day for years, it compounds over time so that you almost ensure that you're going to get better. So whether that's how you work out, that's your writing practice, that's your communication practice with the members of your team, whatever it may be, what can you consistently do each day to ensure you're going to bed a little bit wiser than you were when you woke up? And if you could sit there at the end of each day and say, well, I did this, or I read this, or I met with this mentor, I interviewed this person, or I had this tough conversation at work, whatever it may be. I did these things, and you do that every single day with this eye towards how am I going to go to bed a little bit wiser, a little bit better than I was when I woke up. And then you stack day after day after day. You kind of look back and notice the power of compounding at play. And so that's what I try to live out myself and certainly try to help others do too.
I love that. And I kind of come back to almost the idea of, pulling back an arrow and just having it going in the right direction and aiming for the right type of projects. They're helping the right type of people in the right type of way. Can you talk a little bit? How do people get that clarity around their vision so they're making these little choices that do add up in the right way instead of maybe in the wrong direction?
Um, I mean, getting very clear on your purpose, on your own core values, on the critical behaviors that make those values real, trying to live in that purpose each day. Like again, I'm a prompt driven writer, a prompt driven thinker. And so creating a series of prompts for yourself that you can ask of yourself every single day at the end of the day or beginning of the day, whichever is your preference for how you review. But I do think the best of the best, the people who are sustaining excellence over time are really good at understanding their purpose, minds to inspire others to value and pursue excellence, to know their values. Mine are thoughtful, thankful, curious, and consistent. And then to ask yourself, like, how did I live out that purpose today? How did I live out those values? And really, that's how I would define success. Regardless, if I consistently live out in my purpose and my values every day, like good things are probably going to happen. I don't know what the results are going to be, but I like my chances. And so, usually, if someone's wayward or it's not going well, it's probably because they're not very clear on their purpose and not very clear on their values and the behaviors to make those values real. They're not thinking about it. They're not prompting themselves. They're not trying to stack those days day after day. And they're just kind of wandering through life, hoping for the best. And in my experience, you could get lucky from time to time, but I don't think you're going to have sustainable excellence over time if that's the way you're choosing to live.
Yeah. So, I'm a systems guy. So, what type of, and maybe we can start with the habits. What do you find is the number one habit or the thing that people do, the system that they put in place that allows them to build these leadership to have that compounding effect? Is there a And I know Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are big parts of your life. Is there something you've seen all leaders do that you're like, oh, that's why they're successful? And maybe they all do it a little bit differently, but something that they all kind of gravitate towards?
You're right. I mean, I've had 700 of these conversations. I would say there are certain attributes that they have in common, but they're also wildly different people, and there's wildly different ways to do it. I think a few of the things that come to mind, though, is again, as I mentioned before, they're very clear on who they are. They're very comfortable in their own skin because they understand themselves really well. They also are, I found to be very, very curious people about others, about the world, learning machines, always striving to understand something better, figure out a better way to do it. Their mind is open at all times to potentially find evidence that maybe they need to update their thinking, that what they're doing is not accurate, is not right.
Mm,
I think they're really, really good about surrounding themselves with truth tellers, people who are willing and able to let them know if they're off track. They listen to these people. They also are that for others. But yeah, I think that last one is critical. When people struggle, I think it's probably because they haven't been intentional enough about their who, the people in their life, the ones that are ahead of them, the ones that are beside them, the ones that they're teaching, and having all three of those columns situated well is, I think, really, really important, and seems to be a commonality among leaders who have sustained excellence. And so it's something I certainly think about at all times, because if you look at the Harvard longitudinal study on what it means to live a good life, it's gone on for over 90 years now. Thousands of people have been a part of it. The number one element of what it means to be happy, to live a fulfilling, gratifying life is love, full stop. And
mm,
love comes from relationships with people. So if you're going to think about optimizing one thing in your life or focusing on one thing in your life, I think the evidence suggests that focus area should be on building great relationships with people.
mm. And so, how do, because to me, I have a 16-year-old and 11-year-old, and I am, like I said, I am all about the process of like, okay, if you want to do this thing, you want to become this thing, what are you going to put in place to get there? The daily habits, right? And so, as people are trying to build better relationships, it's nice to say, yeah, I'm gonna focus on that. But the reality is, we often fall back into our regular habits. I won't even say bad habits because a lot of them might be good, but just our regular habits. But we want to change it. We want to improve by that 1%. What is a system someone can put in place to build these relationships so they're growing with these people, and they're helping themselves become more loving and caring and helping others as well as getting help in return?
I can think back to another Munger quote, which is somebody one day was at a Q&A after a speech, and they said, "Yeah, how do I get a great wife?" And he paused and he said, "Deserve one." And so when I
Mm,
think about how to build great relationships, be a person worthy of having great relationships, add value to others in the world. Like, that's one of my core tenets, core thoughts in life, is like, what am I doing to make other people's lives better with not asking for anything in return? Like, I think if that is the North Star of what am I doing to help make your life better? What am I doing to help make my wife's life better, my kids' lives better, my friends' lives better, my podcast guest lives better? What am I? And so there are a wide variety of specifics. For example, my podcast guest, one of the things I love to do to try to make their life better, in addition to amplifying their message and sharing it on a podcast that gets listened to by millions of people all over the world, is, let's say I have a speaking engagement request. This is a very tactical, specific thing, but I think it works here. And I can't do it. I can't go. Maybe I'm coaching one of my kids' games, so I can't leave town or something like that. Well, I will always refer one of my podcast guests to go in my place. And so now I am essentially selling or earning them a full fee speaking gig for them not having to do anything other than just be a guest on my podcast. And so that's one example of a really little thing of, well, wait a second. I really treasure and value these people. I want to build genuine, real relationships with them. What's a way I could add value to their life other than amplifying their message on my show? I could get them good work. Okay. Well, so that's the thing. So thinking of that with every person in your life, with every relationship you have is, what have I done to add value to that person's life? And so for my wife, this is a daily, hourly, minutely feeling of, what am I doing to add value to her life? Because if I'm not adding value, then I don't deserve her, right? The Munger thing. So I'm always just thinking of ways to deserve those great relationships. And the only way I deserve it is if I'm adding value to their life. And the minute that stops, then I don't think they should have any loyalty to be my friend. Maybe that's harsh, but that's how I feel. And so if you're just thinking of ways to do that, again, it seems like the world has a way of working itself out if that's how you try to show up. And so that's why I try to, I'd certainly fail all the time, but that's my aspiration. That's my intention, to try to do that with other people.
I love that. Yes, because if we're not adding value, then we're truly not being loving, right? We're basically
Mhm.
just taking from people. And that's not a type of relationship that I want to be in. I want people to add value to me. So in return, I should be adding value back. That's a great way of looking at it. It reminds me of the
Well, I don't even
Einstein.
think I'm not even thinking of ways for them to add value to my life. I don't think of that. I think the world has a way of working itself out over time if your intention is how to make other people's lives better. There is no, I'm doing this in order to get that from that person. That's quid pro quo. I don't like that. I don't think that's a way to go about relationships. That's not, I don't keep score. That's not how relationships work. It's just simply, what am I doing to add value to your life? And if I do a good job with that over time, again, things just seem to work themselves out. Maybe with that person, maybe not, maybe somebody else. I don't know. But to me, I don't, there's no thinking of, I want them to add value to my life. It's purely one way.
I love that. And I think I'm glad you called me out on that because I do. I fall back into that trap. My dad was like that. My dad taught, hey, if you want people to do stuff for you, you have to do stuff for them, but as a quid pro quo. And it's not a way where that builds that loving relationship. Because when somebody stops doing those things for you, you get jaded, you get upset. Instead of being loving, you feel like, okay, fine, they aren't worthy of my love. And the reality is they are worthy of your love if you are willing just to give love without having anything in return.
Yep. Great point. Yep.
I love that. I love that. It makes me of the think of the quote from Einstein. He asked the question, do you think of the world as friendly or unfriendly? And it's just this very black and white question. And it really shows if you see the universe as friendly, you lean towards that positivity, you lean towards that love versus, okay, what can I get out of this? Or,
Yep.
that unfriendly nature of it.
Yep. Yep. Great point. Great point.
I I think one of the things that as a leader we have these things that we do regularly, and if we're growing, we have these high standards, but often these high standards can turn into a bottleneck. How do you help avoid that trap and do it in a way that still helps you build those relationships?
I want to make sure I'm understanding the question. Like, what do you mean by a bottleneck?
So, when you have high standards, you've often expected things to happen in a certain way. And when they don't come in that way, often we can get upset. We're like, well, hey, this is what I expect of you, and you're not delivering. And then we ended up saying, okay, you need to go back to the drawing board. And it becomes this vicious circle. Instead of one that's helping that person grow, it's gets confusing for them because they don't know exactly how to meet those standards.
Well, I mean, my dad taught me this early on, and I think we all, it's still a work in progress. But as a leader, I mean, it's your job to be vividly clear in your messaging and expectations with other people. So if you're leading somebody at a job or on a team or whatever it may be, and they have any gray area or they're unclear of what is expected of them, or they don't have a clear definition of what an excellent job looks like, that's the leader's fault. And so, and you can't expect them to figure that out. That's your job to ensure they have vivid clarity of whatever that expectation is. So again, I probably still mess this up, but I know that that is a necessary element of leadership, of clearly defining what an A plus looks like for doing this job, and then holding the line and holding the standard and having that expectation that they're going to perform at that level. Now, it also starts with you as the person. You can't think you're going to lead other people and push them and drive them, and yet you don't have those standards, and you're not upholding them, you're not living up to them. It starts with you. You can't lead anyone else until you lead yourself. The fun part about that is it never ever ever ends. You get to constant work in progress. And so yeah, to me, it's vivid clarity, expectations, regular dialogue. My friend Garen Stokes has this mentality of see it, say it. And so when we work with our clients for the leadership teams we work with, Garen's the best in the world. I've seen it this, and I think it's rubbed off on all of us coaches is see it, say it. So see it, say it. If somebody crushes it and they do great, see it, say it. If somebody is not upholding the standards, see it, say it. And so it's like a constant environment of truth telling, of seeing it and saying it, so that everybody always knows where they stand. They're always really clear on if they're doing a good job or not. They're clear on what a great job looks like. You've been clear all along. You're communicating constantly. Coaching happens all the time, not just once a year in a review. It's a constant thing. And I think the best organizations, the best teams, the best leaders, that's what they're doing. It's a constant. It's not just every once in a while thing.
I love that. See it, say it.
Yeah.
But it's hard, right? Because we have to have these uncomfortable conversations. So what type of system process can someone put in place to push themselves a little bit, push outside their comfort zone, see it and then say it, and know that even that person might push back against them a little bit, might feel a little embarrassed. I mean, not, you don't want to call them out in front of everybody, but the idea is making sure they know what's not right and how to fix it.
Yeah, I mean that starts at the beginning, right? So that they know that you've clearly defined what their role is. You've clearly defined excellence in that role and whatever they're supposed to be doing. They know exactly what that is, what that looks like, so that if they're not doing it, the conversation is natural. It should be happening because they clearly know what it is and they're clearly not doing it. Again, if they don't, that's your fault as the leader. So it's being very clear up front. This is what is expected of you. This is what a great job looks like. This is what we're going to talk about. You have agreement with them ahead of time. Get that in writing if you want. And then again, it's not feedback every once in a while. The feedback is constant. And so it's just a daily process of having these conversations, of seeing it and saying it, of them understanding it. And I would say the teams that I would run, or the teams that I've run, they're not for everybody. If you don't like that style, or you don't like constant feedback or coaching, or you don't want to be great, then it's probably not a good fit. But in my experience, I think people love clarity. I think people don't deal well with uncertainty. So if you create more certainty in the world as a leader, if you create more clarity and you're constantly having conversations, then there's no ambiguity. There's no like, I wonder where I stand with him. Well, you know where you stand because we're going to say it all the time. And I want to know the same from you. I want you to share where you're at as well. That way it's like, hey, we have high standards here. You're not upholding the standard. Here's how you can better uphold the standard. Let's go. And that's happening all the time. So yeah, I would say I worked with people where they don't love that, and that's okay. I mean, we don't all have to work with everybody.
Right.
I try my best to be able to be adaptable and work with all different types of people. But I would say if you're on a really, really high performing team with really, really high standards, and you're not a person who has really, really high standards, and you're more, I don't know, a bit lazy, then yeah, it's probably not going to be a fit. And that's okay. They can go and, they can work somewhere else and probably be fine. That's fine. It just, not everybody is meant to work with everybody.
Yeah. And as long as, yeah, it's part of its personality, but part of it, yeah, you have to have those standards, set that line. And if people aren't meeting it, then you've got to have those tough conversations like, hey, you're not doing this. And that's hard, but I think that's what a good leader does. Like you say, you see it and you say it.
Hmm.
Okay, so say you're a new manager, you're figuring this out on the fly. A lot of people get promoted to the point where they've done such a great job now they're leading people, but they had never learned a lot of these skills. What is the system every new manager should install within the first 30 days?
Well, the first 30 days, what would I would be focusing mostly on getting to know the people on my team. If I have open positions, I would be working with my recruiting team on making sure they're aware of the attributes of what I want in a person to hire. This was the case for me. I had 4 open positions when I got promoted at 26 for the first time to a leadership job. Um, but yeah, I have a big getting to know you exercise that I do with everybody that I work with now, all of our clients, all the people on my team, everybody that's ever worked for me at a place of work. They need to know that I care about them as a human, them as a person. I care about their families. I care about the people that love them before they're going to open up to any sort of coaching, any sort of improvement. So my first focus on those first 30 days would be all about my people. That focus never changes as far as that, but we eventually move on to other things when it comes to tactical things that we need to do within the job. But yeah, I'd be doing the getting to know you exercise. I'd be having long one-on-ones with every single person on the team and partners that I need to work with within whatever the job function is. I'd be getting to know them. I'd be working to build relationships with them, because there's going to come times when, like, when you work on a team or an organization, you got to work together. This is why, like, group projects in college are important, even though kids act like they're not. This is why I love hiring people who have been a part of our military or been a part of a team, because they're coachable. They've had to figure out how to deal with and work with and thrive with people with differing personalities. Because that's real. That's the real world. That's life. And so to me, yeah, I think those first 30 days are all about getting to know my people and them getting to know me, so that we can build a real relationship as we move forward. Because it's hard to get feedback and to take it, especially if it's tough, critical feedback from someone, if you don't feel like they care about you, if you don't feel like they've ever tried to get to know you. I've had a boss like that. I, I'm a high standards person, but it wasn't great because I felt like it was so transactional. It was only about the number. It wasn't about me, or he didn't seem to care about me. And so to me, I know what that feels like. And so I'm trying to create the opposite experience for the people I'm working with. Is I do care about you genuinely. I want to get to know you. I want to understand your family. I want to understand all that is you, so that when I'm I'm tough on you, when we're upholding the standard, you understand it comes from a place of care and love, and not from a place of like, I just want to hit my number. And I think that's a big deal. And so yeah, that's why my focus would be mostly on the team, the people.
I love that. And then you build that trust, and then it makes it easier to basically say, "Hey, you're not meeting this, or you're not doing this. We need to be able to fix this." And they're more likely to probably fix it because they see how much you care about them.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
exactly right. Yep.
love that. Okay, so then what is that the 60 days look? What do you have a feedback loop in place? What do those systems look like for you?
um Regular dialogue, documented getting to know you exercises. As we get into then the days following that, I would uh, work to understand our strategy, where we're aiming for, what are the goals, how are each of us individually going to hit our goals, creating actual game plans. I'm going to be sitting with people, I'm going to having conversations, I'm going to be riding with them in the field, I'm going to be with my team. It's the biggest thing my dad told me when I got promoted. He goes, you're going to get try to they're going to try to call you into all these meetings like all over the company. Remember, your job is to be with your people, like Frontline Obsession, like General Stanley McChrystal, like Cat Cole does at AG1. These great leaders are still frontline obsessed. They want to stay close to the action to have an understanding of it. So to me, it's still trying to stay I want to be with customers. I want to be with my people and customers. I want to be as close to the action as possible and try to never, ever lose that frontline obsession. And I think you do that. You always kind of keep a pulse of the business. One of my favorite leaders I work with, I've worked with him since 2020. His name's Sam Kaufman. He's a CRO at Insight Global. So he's running a $5 billion company. And Sam has as good of an understanding of what's happening in his business of any leader I've ever met, because he's frontline obsessed. He lives in the business. He lives with his people. He lives with the customers. He's constantly with them at all times. And he's doing all of the C-suite executive stuff. It's very, very hard job, very demanding, time intensive. But if you want to be great, I think it takes that. And so to me, it's inspiring when I see stories of people who do that and live that out and have such a pulse of what's actually happening because they're frontline obsessed. To me, it's pretty cool to see.
I love that. Yeah, because if you're in there and understand what you can make decisions so much better because you understand what the customers need, what the employees need versus what does upper management need.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Love that. Okay, so AI is becoming bigger and bigger, and it's adding to our stack of leadership things to do. Like, how do we train AI? How do I get my people to use AI? I just listened to a podcast, and this guy runs a marketing agency, and he's like, if you're not using AI, you're not going to last here. I'm just curious, how are you starting to help people from a leadership perspective integrate AI into what they do? And, what does that look like?
Um, use it for use it as a research assistant. Use it as a tool to help you learn. Um, the problem right now is too many people are outsourcing their thinking, and then they're gonna their muscles, that their most powerful and important muscle, their brain, is going to atrophy because they're outsourcing too much to it. So understand how to use it to make you better, but don't outsource your thinking. All If you want to see this in action, just go to LinkedIn and look at all of the people who have magically become writers, and then look at all of the M dashes and it's not this, it's that, or speaking in threes. When you look at their past writing, it looks nothing like that. So there's way, way, way too much AI slop in the world right now. The best way, I think, to differentiate yourself, to make a difference, is to be a human, is to write in your own voice, is to actually think. And so, yes, there are amazing ways to use the tools as an assistant, to research, to learn, to improve. But it is a very thin line to those who are outsourcing their thinking and thinking they look bright or smart by publishing that garbage online, or worse, publishing it internally to their team. And you could see this. And so it's one of the biggest things I'm pushing on the leaders I work with. Do not outsource your thinking, and absolutely do not outsource your writing. That is the dumbest thing you could do, is that, and it's happening so much now. It blows my mind. It is so obvious. We can all see it. We all know, and yet people still do it. So, yeah, I have a little bit different view. I use them all the time, every day. It's a research assistant. It's a tool to learn. It's a tool to grow. But if you're using it to write or to think, you're in trouble. You're in bad shape. Your brain's going to go the wrong way, man. And I would be very, very careful. It's also the cheap, lazy, easy way out. And again, we can all see it when people do that. So especially over the long term, you talk about like the compounding power. Look about the compounding power of outsourcing your thinking and outsourcing your writing. In a year, you're not even going to know what to say. You're not even going to know how to talk. You certainly won't be able to write an email. And yeah, to me, when I see the AI sloppy emails and all that stuff, I just delete them. I don't want to work with people who outsource their thinking or who are that lazy. I think it's crazy.
You bring up a great point because I think you're right. Like, it is the smartest and yet dumbest uh, person that we can have supporting us. And I think if you have the ability, like most of us do, people who are listening to this podcast are very smart. They're leaders. They're trying to lead people. And I think from what I'm hearing is, yeah, use AI, but be very discerning, almost to the point where you become a better leader, more discerning, because now you have maybe the capacity to, it helps you write the email, but you don't just send the email. You actually look through it and be like, no, that's not, I wouldn't say that like that, or no, that's not the way that I see it, instead of just copy paste send, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, anyone who does that knows, one, it's not authentic, and it's like we want to work with authentic, genuine people, not that. And again, more importantly, though, it's just outsourced. Taking the easy way out never works long term, ever.
Mm,
It's we were just in Colorado, and we go hiking, and you can choose easy hikes, you can choose moderate. I look at the All Trails app. You can choose, and you can choose hard hikes. So there's three options for every single hike you choose. And the easy hikes are still beautiful, don't get me wrong, but you don't have like this amazing payoff with easy hikes. You just get to kind of have like a nice walk with your wife. Again, great. But if you want to have the Royal Arch payoff at the top of a mountain in Boulder, Colorado, you got to go up it's a hard hike. It's a lot of vertical gain. It's a lot of walking. You won't be able to breathe at times. It's really, really hard. And so to get the payoff, to get the thing that you want, you got to do the hard thing. And so if you're choosing the easier route with anything in life, you're just not going to get the results that you claim, that a lot of people claim that they want. And so to me, um that's the whole ball game, and that's what I'm trying to do. So whatever it is you're doing, like take the stairs, take the hard route, do the hard thing, have a little bit of delayed gratification. The AI stuff will give you the short term. I guess it doesn't give me gratification, but maybe it gives some people gratification because their email looks good in their mind, even though it doesn't, or their LinkedIn post looks good in their mind. Wow, that's written really well. Well, says who? I mean, not me.
mm,
Yeah, it's easier though, because all you do is put a few prompts in there and boom, they did all the hard work for you. Well, that hard work is like, it's like going to the gym and looking at the weights, standing there, doing nothing, and then going home. Well, what's the point? Like, go to the gym and lift weights. It doesn't make
mm,
any sense. Like, if I'm going to the gym, I'm going
yeah.
to lift weights. I want to get stronger. I want to break my muscles down so they can grow. It's the same way with writing and thinking. If you're going to just outsource all of that stuff, you have no chance of growing, no chance of improving. In fact, you're going to get worse. You're going to get weaker. And so I just, again, I'm not trying to go on a tangent here about this stuff, because AI is important. You got to learn it. It's a thing of, it's happening. It's real. It's here. But um, we just got to be careful. You got to be careful not to these are like drugs. You got to be careful not to abuse them, because it could put you in a bad spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you write about internal versus external scoreboards. What are the warning signs that a leader's winning externally but losing internally?
Well, do they have a clear purpose? Do they have clear values? Do they have a clear critical behaviors? Do they know what those things are? Are they living in accordance to them? Are they being genuine and authentic to who they are? Um, or do you find yourself super worried about what other people are thinking, or what's it going to look like if this happens versus that? The people who I found who are most comfortable in their own skin, who are living by their inner scoreboard, they have a clear purpose, clear values, clear behaviors. Their prompts, their questions to themselves are about that. The results seem to follow, by the way, for people like that. They seem to win a lot. I wrote The Score That Matters with Brooke Cups. The winningest coach of all time at Centerville High School, had never made it to a Final Four before Brooke, and since then have made it to four of them and won a state title. And Brooke doesn't have any goals that have anything to do with winning any amount of games ever. Every goal is a process-oriented goal. Every goal
Mm,
is about living, like winning that game. And the funny thing is, it seems that the score takes care of itself, because his teams and his leadership style is so focused on being tough, passionate, unified, and thankful, which are their core values. That's how they live them out. They have their purpose. That's what it's all about. So to me, do you have those things? Are they really, really clear for you? If they are, again, I like your chances for whatever result that you're going for, as opposed to just shooting for some specific result that some of that's out of your control. So yeah, to me, it's that clarity. You get that clarity, that inner stuff right, then the external things seem to work themselves out. But if you're only thinking about the external, or what people are going to think, or how it's going to look, and you're overly worried about that, that's when I think leaders can get out of whack.
yeah, yeah, that's a great point, because too often we don't think of come back to that compounding effect, right? All those little things add up. If we're so focused on, hey, we have to win this game or we've got to win this championship, we start to miss out on those little things that we need to do every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it. Exactly.
Okay, so as let's say you're preparing for a keynote, it's in front of 1,000 people, whatever. What does your self support systems look like? So you're doing a good job. You're balancing helping your team, you're balancing helping your family, but you're also taking that time for yourself. Is it meditation? Is it journaling? What do you do?
If I'm prepping for a keynote or I'm
Yeah, but
delivering a keynote or
making sure you don't get stressed out, making sure you're not like, "Oh, this is all I'm doing is just this keynote." It's that balance of doing those other things and making sure you take care of yourself.
well, I do get pretty obsessed about every one of them. That's why I don't do a ton of them. I'll do like 20 to 25 a year. So I think I owe it to that client or to those people in those seats to be obsessed for that specific one. So the preparation is over the top. I try to learn a lot about who's sitting in those seats. I try my best to make it as specific and tailored to them as possible. I've been in the rooms where people just kind of put up their stock talk and give it. It's fine, especially if they're professional speakers, they can do a good job, I guess, but it really makes a difference when you're specific to them. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but to me, I get pretty obsessed, and I want my coaches when they have keynotes to be obsessed too, to be overly prepared, to be maniacal about every opportunity, because so much good can come when you're if you're lucky enough to be in a room where 1,000 people are watching you to listen to you. Well, then you owe it. That could have a big time multiplying effect on the impact that you can have in those people's lives. So I think in that moment, while you're preparing, while you're delivering it, you are 1,000% focused on that. Then afterwards, you can go back to your family, go back to your team, like be there. But if you're only doing 20, 25 a year, it's not that crazy to be pretty psycho about each and every one of them so that you do a really, really good job. But yeah, I would say now, my wife comes with me every once in a while. And so it's kind of a fun team effort where we can talk through it. She can be there, give me feedback, all those types of things, or I'll bring another coach with me who knows me well, who can give me feedback. Because no matter what happens, you're always going to mess up something. You always could have done it better. You always want to tweak. You always want to improve every single time. Speaking is like a really hard thing to do in front of a group of people. So I love, love, love the challenge of that, and love when you feel like you nail it. Or at least parts of it, and figuring out what works, like that dynamic with it, because it's a thing that so many people are really, really bad at. And so if you can go and get really, really good at that skill, it's insanely valuable. And so whether you work at a corporation and you just get up and give the Monday morning talk, or you're going to give the full town hall or whatever, or you're like do the stuff that I do where you go from company to company or conference to conference and give talks, it's just really valuable to be able to get up and move people both emotionally, uh, great stories, and then have practical applications so they could implement it into their lives, change their lives for the better. Man, what an amazingly cool responsibility. And so yeah, I take them pretty serious. Do I overdo it? Probably. Um, but then you're done and you go back to whatever. My kids don't care. Like when I can go do a speech at 9 in the morning in Cincinnati, Ohio, and drive home and still get my youngest daughter Charlie off the bus. She doesn't care. I mean, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about soccer practice or whatever, school projects. So yeah, to me, like I think it's just being able to compartmentalize when it's go time to get ready to be on stage and put on a show. You get after it, and then afterwards, your family doesn't care at all. They just view you as dad. And so when I get home, it's all about, okay, what's how can I add value to their lives? Like what are they into? What can we do to get ready for tonight? And then when it's time to get ready for the speech or whatever, I'm going to get ready. But yeah, I'm fortunate to get to kind of make my own schedule, my own hours. So 8:06 in the morning, I put Charlie in the bus, and 3:58 in the afternoon, I get her off the bus. That's every day, unless I'm on the road. So to me, it's pretty great. It's pretty great setup. But I think in order to do that, to live that lifestyle, when it is go time, you better be good. You better be good. Because if you're not, then you're going to stop getting booked. And that would be bad. So yeah, I think you do got to be kind of crazy about it when it's go time for those things. And then in between that, yeah, then it's all the fun stuff with the family.
So what I'm hearing system wise is almost like compartments of, hey, from what 8:15 whatever, and Charlie gets on the bus to 3:45. It is go time, and you
Yep.
are maniacal about doing a great job, doing the research, understanding. And I think this comes, this is just the system of really understanding your why, what is your mission for this talk, and then following through on it. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whatever that the thing is you're choosing to do, are you I think it's like it's just very important to be, if you want to be great at it, at least is to be like, I'm going to be all in. So like a really actually recent real life story. I fly to Boulder, Colorado to meet with one of my heroes, Jim Collins, right? Good to Great's like my leadership Bible. It's the first book I ever read when I got a real job. First leadership book I read. And um so he comes into the studio. We're in Boulder. We rent the studio where he did his audiobook. So he has, because I wanted him to be comfortable and feel like, oh, I know these people. So the first thing he does, he comes into the control room where like the audio engineer and the producer and all the people sit, which is outside of where we were going to record. It's like side by side, like a music studio. The first thing I notice he does after we kind of exchange pleasantries, shake hands, give a little hug, is he starts taking off his Apple Watch. Then he takes out his key fob. It's one fob. It's got a piece of tape on it. It says Jim. Then he takes out his phone. Then he takes out this Ziploc bag that has cash, credit cards, emergency contact. He sits it all in this pile. It's the very first thing he did. It was this way of signaling to me, which my wife and I reflect on this afterwards, but it was this kind of subconscious way of signaling to me, I'm all in. I am all
Mm.
in on this. I'm not even gonna have my phone, my watch, my car keys, my wallet. None of that is even going to be in the room with us when we go to record. I am all in.
Love
And
that.
he didn't need to do any of that. I mean, he
Mhm.
could have done whatever he wanted. I flew out there to see him. He could have done anything. And we never even talked about it. I sent his assistant a note afterwards. I said, does he always do that? And she goes, Jim is so good about being locked in on what he chooses to do. It's not surprising to hear that he would do that with you. And so I like, it's very inspiring to think of this guy's 68 years old. He's the GOAT. He can do whatever he wants. And yet it's still like, I am going to show you I'm all in, and I'm going to be all in on this thing. And so whatever that thing is that you're choosing to do, that kind of focus, that kind of commitment is awesome. It's like, that's, I want to
Mhm.
be with people like that. And so I don't know. I've taken a lot. It was recent, but I've taken a lot from that of saying, am I that good at is be I don't know if I am. I mean, maybe sometimes I am, maybe sometimes, but am I that consistently good about being all in? Probably not. And so I could be better. And so when you see somebody
Mm.
like that doing that, it's inspiring to say, let's this is what it takes. Like, this is what it takes to be really great, to be this committed, this locked in on whatever the thing is I'm choosing to do that day.
I love that. And that's a great story. It's such a really little snippet of that situation where you get to know, you get to understand that person so deeply from that small little slice. And I like that because it also makes me, am I doing that? Am I all in? And I'm not at times, there's sometimes I am. I'm all locked in. You know, I told you before we started recording, I was thinking about you and like how to make this a great interview, and then reading over. So I, and I think this is to me a key point, that we're all in a different spot, right? And we all have to say, okay, I want to get a little bit better. What are we putting? What little system are we putting in place? And I love that Jim, put out this plastic everything in a little pile. This I can visualize it,
Yeah.
and I think what I'm also hearing is your system is looking for the things you admire in others and how you can start to apply some of that to your own life.
That's it. I mean, that's why I started my podcast 11 years ago, to create a leadership PhD program for myself. It is me search first. It is for me. I am listener number one. I listen to all of them. not only while doing them, but then afterwards, the first cut, the final cut, all of that, because the whole intention was to create a leadership PhD program so I could improve. Now, very happy that other people find value in it. I'm very happy that it changes people's lives. But that element of me chasing down my own curiosity has not gone away. I don't think it ever will. I just recorded with Austin Kleon yesterday, and some of the rabbit holes we went down on that conversation probably aren't the best if I was thinking about an audience, but it was what I was curious about. And maybe some people are like, why are you asking about the typewriter interview thing? That has nothing to do with leadership. It's like, well, I'm really curious about it. I want to learn. I think it's valuable to understand his mindset as it appears, as it applies to this. I also think seeing somebody who's fully activated and deeply curious about something is attractive and is worth following or is interesting. I'm interested in people when I could see that they're fully activated and deeply curious about anything. I don't care if it's like woodworking or playing guitar or climbing mountains, whatever. When you see that they're fully like deeply curious and into that thing, I think it's just a cool trait in a person. So yeah, I mean, I don't even remember the exact question, getting off on this tangent, but to me, it started about this started about me trying to chase down my curiosity and learn so I could improve as a leader. And I didn't necessarily realize it would do what it's done beyond kind of what it's done for me.
I love that. Yeah, and we go down these rabbit holes, and I think it's important because it's exploring when we talk with each other. Okay, we got the 5 minute system segment coming up. So where can people go to find out more about you? And thank you for bringing your A game to this interview. But yeah, where can people go to find out more about you?
Learningleader.com. Everything is at learningleader.com. If you listen to podcasts, the Learning Leader Show, it's on all the platforms. So yeah, but for everything that I do, books, podcasts, speaking, everything is learningleader.com.
And when does your new book come out?
July 21st.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.